Hello everyone, I'm so excited. It's coming up on my absolute most favorite time of the year. I have a lot of videos for you this season, including decor for outside, inside, how-tos, and inspiration on different DIYs, so I hope that you'll subscribe so you can stick around to see them all come out. The first one that I'm going to be showing you here today is going to be on how to transform this space into what's our Santa room and show you the different parts of our Christmas village. So today I'm going to be taking you through part one, and so let's get started on that. The part one of the village here is going to be a little bit more of a permanent structure, so it has a little bit more detail. The back end of it I put in twinkle lights and a little bit of a chaotic pattern for a reason, so that it looks like stars once I put my canvas down, and this looks really cool as a backdrop for my Christmas village. I go ahead and place a table in to extend the workspace, and then I have help from my children to get all the pieces out to get a look at what we have. One child takes it away, one child puts it in, but we love it. And this is the structure here I was telling you about. This is a little bit going to be a permanent structure. And what I mean by that is that the stand itself is going to be reused. And so the two areas that I showed you, we're going to be cutting them out and then also elevating some areas and just making this look beautiful. So this first area, I'm cutting it down one of the platforms here and adding in a space so that I can bring this larger piece down. Just from the perspective, since it's a larger piece, I want to bring it a little bit closer. And then for some visual interest, I'm working on some steps here. So the first part of the steps is pretty easy. You saw how I drew that out there because there's already kind of a step increase in place on the side of this foam. If that wasn't there, you would have to draw or cut one of those in first, and then I just cut out the shape of the stairs. Now the second part of the steps is a little bit more tricky, and so because I only have the two ledges instead of the three, what I do is I draw out where the stairs would be, and then I cut it out, and then what I have to do is increase the depth then on the steps, and then cut the remaining piece off so that you have what looks like visible stairs. So this is a little bit tricky, but if you want to rewatch that a couple of times, if that's something you're interested in doing, how to cut in foam to steps, you can definitely pick this process up too. And it's not difficult, but it's a little bit confusing at first. And this here that I'm using is a foam cutting tool. If you use something like this, you need to make sure that you're wearing a mask as well as gloves and eye protection. This, as you can see, has some smoke that comes up. I actually have a fan that is blowing directly on my face as well, so that even though I have a respirator on, that smoke goes away from me, and then another fan out the window, so that I don't mess around with smoke from this type of foam. So just be really careful when you use this type of cutting tool, but it works really well. It's very slick. So I got that from Amazon. I can link that in the description below if you'd like to look into something like that as well. Now these are just two stacked large foam pieces that I got from, I think, a grill set or something in the summertime. I always keep those inserts that come in boxes because you can use those in your Christmas village, so that's a good tip for you. So I have two of them stacked up here. I have them secured with glue as well as some mini skewers, and then I have that other area also cut out on the right side that you saw that I circled in the beginning. Now I'm securing some of the elevations you see with those mini skewers as well to make this a little bit more of a solid structure, and then I cover the whole thing with just some of that nice snow fabric that you see commonly in any store at Christmas time. I'm going to come back to the steps in a little bit to add a little bit more detail, but first I'm just going to get some structural support here and also get somewhat of a base to cover up all that foam and to get an overview of what this is going to look like. So I've got that cut out on the right side, I've got the cut out on the left side, I've got the elevations in, and now I'm ready to add in a little bit more decor and a little bit more detail that's going to make this really pop. So this cobblestone road sheet is actually from Limax. It comes in a large roll, so you can cover a lot of space with this. I'm just going to go ahead and lay this out and cut a sheet and glue this in place. I use tack glue for this project for the most part. Tacky glue works pretty well for foam, so I use that here, you can't use something like hot glue because it just melts the foam. So for adhering anything that goes near the foam, I use the tack glue. It works pretty well. And then after I put that glue in place, I'm going to go ahead in with those skewers, and this time I'm going to use them also to look like fence posts instead of using them for structural support. And so I'm going to put them the whole way around this edge of this cliff of this village, and that I'm going to turn this into something decorative as well as supporting that cobblestone road there to make sure that it doesn't pop up. Now I'm going to add in a little bit more detail to the steps here to blend it in with that cobblestone road. Just layering in some paint to give it some detail, and then extending those toothpicks down the staircase to give it a handrailing appearance. When I'm adding the handrail to the stairs here, I actually kind of break it, but not the whole way through, and so that I can kind of bend it down and around these edges. So that's a good way to do this if you're making somewhat toothpick banisters. And as you layer in the details, that's what's going to give it that realistic appearance. And this is how it looks so far in the process. And we're going to go ahead and layer in a little bit more. You can see there I added some lights, and I'm going to be adding in these stones and these bushes here to kind of disguise and give it a little bit more depth as well. So in this village, I'm just adding a little bit of this moss and things like that to make them look like bushes. So I'm just stacking them up on themselves, adding in some stones and some red and sparkles that maybe look like berries, or some Christmas bulbs in the bushes, which I think looked and turned out really nicely. And then I took small black stones and extended up this sidewalk here, just a little black stone staircase, and then I'm going to be adding in some hand railing to this area as well. These little pieces here I got from Hobby Lobby, the small wreaths and the bows. I'm going to be adding some more detail to this piece. I have one item that's called a wreath shop, and so I just took some twisty ties and some pipe cleaners, and I created this little stand here, and then I put those small wreaths on there and glued that into place next to the wreath shop, and I thought that that was a nice little touch to kind of put a wreath display there. The other thing that we're going to do now is work on that edge there of the park and add in some flocking. Now this I did with just a very small spray bottle, just keep wetting down that edge and then putting in the flocking there. I can link that in the description below. It's also from Amazon, and it works by adding some moisture. So you put spray first, put down the flocking, and then spray a little bit on top, and it will harden and it'll stay in place, and it adds a really nice effect, and it disguises that kind of harsh edge of the cobblestone road that we placed. It makes it look a little bit more realistic and homogeneous. Then after adding the small Christmas lights to the fence, I take the bows, add those in as well to disguise some of the edges of the fence posts, and this is how that turns out. I think it looks very sweet. Some more of those river rocks there at the coffee cafe, just to kind of give a little bit of detail in front, and then a little bit more of that cobblestone up here to that platform. I took that same paint and worked on that edge to create somewhat of a cave underneath here. I took this small polar bear figurines and placed them in there. There's some foam that are in a triangle and broken up appearance that I just put in there to kind of make it look icy in that cave. As well as you can see, I also put some blue lights in there. And it really adds a fun visual impact as that train pulls through there under that, and something interesting to look at under there. This part of the village here, it just has my fire station and the train station set up with a tree, and so it's not very detailed as that structure that we did on the left, but it still turned out quite pretty because it has a lot of visual interest with the train coming through. I just have the back two pieces up on a little bit of a foam elevation, and that's a little bit of that cobblestone road there with a little bit of flocking, and that's how that turned out. So this is the view on how the first part of the Christmas village looks, and I hope that you enjoyed that, because that platform there, now I can take all my pieces off there and just store that platform for next year and have it ready to go and ready to be used. And so that is really, not a waste of your time to put that extra detail into something that you're going to reuse like that. So I hope that you stick around to see and subscribe to see what part 2 looks like. Like I said, I'm going to have a lot of videos this holiday season, and I hope that you enjoy, and thanks so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up.